Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another episode of Cyber Tech for Life. I'm your host, Mike Razor, here in New York City. Hopefully, you are having an amazing day today. It's going to be pretty nice outside. Unfortunately, in New York City at this time of year, it's still a little cool. I am getting over the flu. So if you noticed a few weeks have gone by, I haven't put up any videos. That's the reason why. I'm at the bit end of this process, and um, and I'm glad to be back. Fortunately, things like this happen on a regular basis to people, and we just got to kind of work through it. So those individuals who are not feeling well, I want to say, get better soon, uh, and hopefully everything is all right on your end. Today's episode, ladies and gentlemen, is going to be those 5 questions, Q and A's. Excuse me. It's going to be the Q and A's, and hopefully these Q and A's help individuals out in terms of one, individuals who don't have the funds to be able to purchase these question and answer books, exam books for the CYSA Plus. And then also too, those who are trying to take the Security Plus. I know the Security Plus is supposed to be first before you decide if you want to take the CYSA Plus, and obviously Network Plus and all the others come before that. But I think Security Plus is definitely closely related to the CYSA Plus. And if you are getting 75 80s on the CYSA plus practice exams, 9 times out of 10 you're going to be able to pass the Security Plus exam, because Security Plus is more generalized. So maybe you want to, if you're taking CYSA Plus, maybe you want to sign up to take Security Plus, or vice versa. Well, I'm not going to say vice versa. I'm going to say if you're taking the Security Plus, then maybe you want to pass that first and then expand maybe a month extra of studying the CYSA Plus, and then immediately go and take the CYSA Plus. Understanding that CYSA Plus questions, a lot of questions are vague, and the answers you think might be the answer may not be the answer. That's one thing I got to tell you, and I probably have a lot of people to agree with me who have taken the exam, that CYSA, CompTIA, you guys got to work on some of those things. I don't work for CompTIA, so I'm going to give my um, what my opinion is on the exam, because I've already taken it once, and that is that um, these practice exams, a lot of them, there's a few questions that contradict themselves based on the way that you guys ask the questions. The problem is, and there should be a rule or law, when you use certain terminology, certain words, know that the individual who wrote that question needs to be aware of how the English language works as far as the word is being used. Because an individual like myself, who has a bachelor's degree in English composition, who went all the way up to the top level of English in my major, to turn around, and I'm in my master's program now, to turn around and take an exam like this and read the questions and see the terms and verbiage used to say, oh no, this is appropriate. It's a lot of those questions really aren't appropriate. And a lot of people who are taking the exam are just agreeing with you because you guys are the ones who are giving the exam. And who are they to deny that? Who are they to say otherwise, you know? But reality is true. A lot of the questions contradict themselves. And I even put up a post on Reddit at one point regarding 2 separate questions, and I received a message from someone from CompTIA on Reddit, uh, asking me to expound and saying that, oh, that the questions that I'm referring to, they can't even tell if it's from their site and all of this. And first of all, they must have been the ones to write the question because they got an attitude. Okay. They got a bad attitude. And if these are the people that are writing the questions, the ones with the attitude, then that's a problem also. Okay. That's number two. Positive criticism should be accepted. Okay. That's number three. Long story short, I respond to the message in clarity, and I also provided the what they were requesting. They wanted more detail of where it came from. I gave it to them. It came directly from their book. It came directly from the website. So, and then I gave them the question numbers and everything. And guess what? I didn't hear back from them. Nothing. Zero. Um, and unfortunately, this is something that us as students, individuals in master's programs and various other programs trying to accomplish this. I even know of one guy who had to take this exam for a doctorate. Now, if you have, I guess you have a choice because you could take this exam even if you're not in school, but to have the same exam being provided for someone in their master's program and then have the same exam provided for someone in their doctorate program, I think there's something wrong there. That's just my opinion. And to be honest, and they this the disclaimer breakdown does say, oh, you should have been in your career for 5 years and this and that, and so I'm not saying that this CYSA is supposed to be for beginners. No, I'm not saying that at all. But what I am saying is, I think there needs to be more structure in how this exam is being given if it's going to be that complex. All right. Other than that, ladies and gentlemen, hopefully you guys are having an amazing day today. I'm gonna kick this thing off with the CYSA Plus practice test booklet. Now I've purchased the booklet and I've purchased the um, online copy, online copy first, as well as the study guide on Audible and the hard copy study guide. I tried to do everything digital at first to save some money. Unfortunately, the study guide on Audible, there's a lot of details that the speaker, whether it's an Autobot or a Decepticon, I don't know, um, but whether the way that the individual is speaking kind of just brushes through everything. Um, Even though it gives a good amount of information, I don't think it's significant enough for me personally to be able to sit, pause, rewind, listen again, and have to go through all of that when I could use the hardcover, highlight, or overview, take an exam, whatever I get wrong, go back to the hardcover, take a look. Now, the other thing is, I did do that. I went to the hardcover book after I took a couple of exams and tried to break down and look up the specific detail information that of questions that I got wrong. I was able to find some, but it didn't. The way that the study guide works, and the breakdown of how the study guide works, to me, it's a little difficult to be able to take an exam and then try to find that information. You could go to the back of the glossary and find specific keywords and spaces, and then go to that specific page, chapter, and read through it to see if maybe you could kind of correlate the two. And that's what I did. But it's not going to be exact how the questions are the way that the questions are being asked on the exam. So just be mindful of that. Anyway, this CYSA Plus Practice Test Exam CSO 003 has 1,000 practice questions covering all the exam objectives. Complement the CompTIA CYSA Study Guide Exam 3rd Edition. This is the Mike Chappell and David Seidel edition, in which you can also go to Mike Chappell's website and LinkedIn and what have you, and get some more studying and breakdown of that. And then there's other individuals that have information about questions that you'll be able to have asked and answered. All right, let's get into the questions, ladies and gentlemen. Let's see what we could do. There's but so much that we could cover. I'm gonna try to put up some videos for you guys and see if that helps during the Q&A process. Let me see. Let me see now. All right. Let's start off with, because there's a few now. I don't want to do the same thing that we did the last time. Let's start at 87. Okay, this is gonna be security operations, domain 1, chapter 1, 87. Okay, so hold on 1 second. Let me try to get the answer. Security operations 87. 1 second. All right. All right. All right. So the first question is going to be 87 in the in the practice test booklet. Kubernetes and Docker are examples of what type of technology? A, encryption. B, software defined networks. C, containerizations. Or D, serverless. Okay, so that's going to be the first question, ladies and gentlemen. Kubernetes and Docker are examples of what type of technology? A, encryption. B, software defined networking. C, containerization. Or D, serverless. All right, I'll give you a moment to answer that question, and let's see um what you get. Doom, ding, doom. You could pause this video if you like, but I'm about to give the answer. All right, ladies and gentlemen, the answer is C, containerization. Yep. Kubernetes and Docker are both various examples of containerization technology. All right, next, 88. Nathan is designing the logging infrastructure for his company and wants to ensure that a compromise of a system will not result in the loss of the system's logs. What should he do to protect the logs? Okay, is that A, limit log access to administrators? B, encrypt the logs? C, rename the log files from their common name? Or D, send the logs to a remote server? Now, once again, A, limit log access to administrators. B, encrypt the logs. C, rename the log files from their common name. Or D, send the logs to a remote server. I'll give you a moment. And understand that the things that CompTIA has for answers in a lot of these questions are not exactly how it's going to go in the real world, but it's one of those things where this is what CompTIA feels the right answer is. And to be perfectly honest with you, I don't particularly agree with that method. Supposedly, the people that are writing these questions and answers are professionals that have been in the business for years. Although I haven't heard anybody say that yet, we know that Mike Chappell has been in the business for years. So him writing this book is one thing, but he doesn't work directly for CompTIA, from my understanding, and he doesn't write the exams. So I'm curious to know who's behind the scenes. All right, let's get to the answer. The answer is D. Send the logs to a remote server. Nathan's best option is to send the logs to a remote server. The server should be protected to ensure that the same exploits that might compromise other systems will not impact the secure log storage server or service. In many organizations, a SIM device or security logging tool like Elk or Splunk may be used to store and work with these logs. All right, ladies and gentlemen, if you need to rewind, please do so. But that is question number 2. Okay, 89. Ansel knows he wants to use federated identities in a project he is working on. Federated identities. Which of the following should not be among his choices for a federated identity protocol? A. OpenID, B. SAML, C. OAuth, and D. Authman. Once again, that's A. OpenID, B. SAML, C. OAuth, and D. Authman. All right, let me give you a moment. This one was an easier one to answer if you know the variations of um, authorization tools for federated systems. All right, the answer is D, ladies and gentlemen, Authman. So OpenID, SAML, and OAuth are all commonly used protocol for federated identity. Ansel will need to better understand what the use case for federated identities are in his environment and which organizations he will federate with before he chooses a protocol to implement, and may eventually need to support more than one. Authman is a tool used to manage web user login files and is not a protocol. So you just learned something new if didn't know that. Authman is a tool used to manage web user login files and is not a protocol. All right, ladies and gentlemen. All right. So we got 1, 2, 3, 4. We up to 90. James uploads a file that he believes is potentially a malware package to VirusTotal and receives positive results, but the file is identified with multiple different malware package names. What has most likely occurred? A. The malware is polymorphic and is being identified as multiple viruses because it is changing. Different anti-malware engines call the same malware package by different names. VirusTotal has likely misidentified the malware package. Excuse me. And this is a false positive. Or D. The malware contains multiple malware packages, resulting in the mismatch. Okay, I'll give you a moment to answer this question, ladies and gentlemen. Um, and hopefully you get it right. We'll see. Give you a moment to answer this question. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I believe the answer is going to be B. Excuse me. Different anti-malware engines call the same malware package by different names. Yeah, and that's correct. Sites like VirusTotal run multiple malware engines, which may use different names for malware packages. This can result in a malware package apparently matching multiple different infections. So that's another good one, ladies and gentlemen. Whenever you guys are doing forensic investigation, uh, or just trying to find a root cause, or even finding out whether or not a specific what type of malware is being infected, is infecting the specific system. You use a virus total. Um, to do that, you could use a Buzel PDB, um, and what have you, to be able to find certain answers to questions that you may need. All right, let's move on to the last question, ladies and gentlemen. Isaac wants to monitor live memory usage on a Windows system. What tool should he use to see memory usage in a geographical user interface? A, memcheck; B, performance monitor; C, winmem; or D, top. Sometimes, ladies and gentlemen, the way that they ask the question, they won't give the full name. They'll give partial name, and you kind of gotta work through whether or not that's the right answer or not. And some of these questions have a lot of this of good answers, but they want you to give the best answer. Okay, so once again, Isaac wants to monitor live memory usage on a Windows system. What tool should he use to set memory usage in a graphical user interface, which is a GUI? And that's A, memcheck; B, performance monitor; C, winmem; or D, top. That's 91. All right, 91. If you need to pause, please pause. All right, ladies and gentlemen, the answer is B, performance monitor. Okay, the Windows performance monitor, perfmon.exe, provides a live view of memory usage for running applications on services. This can be useful for live memory analysis. Memcheck and WinMem were made up for this question, and Top is a useful Linux tool for checking memory utilization. If you aren't familiar with the tools like this, you may want to spend some time with Windows and Linux common command cheat sheets, like the Linux sheet found at linuxtrainingacademy.com/linux commands cheat sheet. All right, ladies and gentlemen. So that's going to be the 5 questions that we're working on today. Um, I got to tell you, ladies and gentlemen, I um I went to while I was sick last week. I went to take the exam CYSA Plus for a second time, and when I in my sickness, which as you can see, I still have a little cough, but in my still being under the weather, I got up, went to the testing center, and when I got to the testing center, just in case this happens to you guys, when I got to the testing center, the gentleman explained to me that the Pearson View system hasn't been working properly, and one of the rooms, which was at the front, was filled with individuals, and he took me all the way to the back room, which tells me that the first room and the second room was filled with people. When I got to the third room, he tried to sign me in, and the system kept saying that the system was down. Like the computer kept saying the system was down. So he tried it maybe about 7 to 8 times, and then explained that for whatever reason today the system doesn't work for back here and all this. And I said, well, maybe it's the relays, maybe the relay connection to the IDF room or whatever servers you guys are using, or Wi-Fi access is not connecting to the server that this computer is on, and that's the reason why it's not connecting. And he agreed with me. He said maybe that is what it is. Long story short, I thought that maybe that would have put us in a better position where maybe if we tried a computer that was closer in another room. But he just said, well, I'm going to give you a case number. You submit the case number and sign in so that we'll know you were here, and then just reschedule. So, as you know, being under the weather, I won't complain. I did it, and I said it is what it is, and left it alone. And now I got a new scheduled appointment for April the 2nd. Those of you that are in WGU in your master's program, I commend you from for the going through the process. Bachelor's too. Anybody that's taking masters or bachelors and still have to take the certifications or complete 27-page papers and what have you, I want to give you guys kudos and say that just keep going. And the light is at the end of the tunnel. You're almost there. Those individuals who are also still interviewing for work, those individuals who were laid off and are in the in that middle point, I want to say keep going, keep pushing, keep applying. I know that sometimes it may be a little bit of a struggle, but don't stop. That's the most important thing. Just keep on going. There's a lot of people going. A friend of mine sent me a message the other day to let me know his struggles. We have a little men's group kind of thing going on. He let me know his struggles, and I explained to him, you're not the only one going through these problems. That sometimes we have to find a better way to get through. Um, and unfortunately, we can't always rely on government because their process um, is strenuous, and sometimes the way that the process works, I'm not going to say they do it deliberately, but a lot of times it feels as if they make the process complex and complicated, so people can't take advantage of the system. But at the same time, it makes it difficult for those individuals who are genuine, who are really trying to survive and succeed in life, to get past a certain point, to be able to make it at least a little easier. Okay. When it takes 2, 3, 4 months for someone to get public assistance. At the same time, I always also encourage individuals to start their own business, try to find ways to bring value to the world, just like I am with this YouTube channel. Um, because I'm still studying for my CYSA plus, ladies and gentlemen, and I decided to do these videos because I felt that there weren't that many people putting up videos on Q&As for CYSA plus. I've seen a few Security Plus Q&As. I've seen maybe it's easier, Network Plus, things of that nature, but not necessarily CYSA Plus. And usually it's from individuals who have already taken the CYSA Plus, passed it, and they're kind of just going through the flow. Me, I've taken my ISC squared CC and I've passed that. I am in my master's program for cybersecurity currently in my second term, and or headed towards my second term. My last step in the first term is to pass the CYSA plus. As I said before, I've already passed the CC, which was one of the certs for the first term. I've completed all of my papers. I've completed all of my projects, which I won't get into too many details, but these were M&A projects, the merging of two businesses, and finding out the BIA for the network merger, and seeing the best possible option there was um, for the company. And I have to tell you that structure and systems and I love it. It's amazing. Make you feel good, you know. But also understand that everything that we are all doing here is a process. So I want to support you guys. You guys support me. We're doing this together. I don't care what age you are. You know, you could be 18, you could be 100. You know, and if you're about to take your CYSA Plus, come on in, watch the videos. I am going to continually put up these videos every Monday morning, ladies and gentlemen, so that you could have it. You give me a day. If Monday doesn't work, let me know what day works best for you guys, and then I'll kind of work my way around that. But I like to do it Sunday evening, afternoon, evening, and then post it Monday morning. All right, ladies and gentlemen. So I want to thank you guys for coming on the video, watching the video. I think I might also do these live at some point. That way we could get some Q and A's right in the chat. But you know, anyway, you all have an amazing day, and hopefully this video helped you guys out. If you have questions, reach out to me, send me a message,